I believe in the law.
So you're a law and order guy.
Well, I mean, yeah. If we don't have rules, what you got? Chaos.
I have to ask, Donald Trump was just found guilty of fraud, $385 million.
So?
So this is a self-proclaimed law and order guy. How does he feel about law and order when it comes to Trump?
If you really value law and order, but Trump is guilty of crimes, does it bother you that Trump, your guy, did a fraud that is costing him nearly $400 million?
Well, it bothers me, but it ain't going to deter my vote, sir. I still vote for him. If he had 21 million felonies, I'm voting for him.
Well, to be fair, Trump isn't at 21 million yet, but he is becoming more and more of a threat to democracy every day. Look at what he said as soon as he left the court for his hush money trial.
They have me sitting here for a Biden trial. It's a Biden trial. I'm sitting here because that's exactly what they want. They don't want me on the campaign trail. This is a corrupt system we're in, and I think the people are understanding it.
That, of course, could not be further from the truth. But what Donald Trump is doing here is projecting. He is describing not the justice system he is actually experiencing, but the justice system if he were in charge of it. And I am not speculating here. This is Trump in an interview with Time magazine published today. Question: would you fire a U.S. attorney who didn't prosecute someone you ordered him to? Trump: it depends on the situation, honestly. Question: so you might? Trump: it would depend on the situation. Yeah.
And if Trump wanting to dismantle democracy and dismantle our criminal justice system isn't enough to make you worried, also remember that he's currently leading in the polls.
Donald Trump showing in these polls that he continues to hold an advantage over President Joe Biden. Now, according to these numbers that you see there on your screen, 49% of registered voters choose Donald Trump, and then only 43% for Biden. Now, earlier in the year, Biden's numbers were around 45%. So those numbers are holding steady. And there are issues that are dogging the president and that his team is well aware of. One of them being the handling of Israel's war against Hamas that is unfolding in Gaza. Now, you've seen the protesters that have been happening across campuses. And according to our polling here, there is major disapproval over the president's handling of the Israel-Hamas war, with 71% disapproving.
You're not going to win the election without young voters, without Gen Z. Gen Z is the reason why the Democrats did not get destroyed in the midterms. It's why they won in 2020. They're choosing now to just say, you know what, I'm good. And I mean, that's, the power you have in a democracy is to withhold your vote. And you can play this game of chicken. Some of them aren't playing a game of chicken. They're committed to, staying home. And meanwhile, you have Democratic politicians just saying, right, as if you can just write this off. You can't. I'm reading the truth about Camp David. And funny little thing about history. So when Netanyahu got elected in the 90s, he was facing the incumbent, Shimon Peres, and Shimon Peres was a little hawkish, but he wanted to follow the Oslo Accords by Yitzhak Rabin. He had taken part in helping create the Oslo Accords. However, he did, bomb a refugee camp, killing 100 civilians, and the Arab citizenry of Israel said, you know what, we're going to stay home that election. And they opted out. Netanyahu won by half a percentage point. Like the narrowest margin. Israel had Netanyahu, which was demonstrably worse in every way. He sped up settlements, so much more land was confiscated. He accelerated the process. He did not want to follow the Oslo Accords in any way. He was awful for Israel and the Palestinians and the world. He still, to this day, is awful. He is just an awful person. Yet at that election, you had Shimon, I'm butchering his name, Peres, and Benjamin Netanyahu. Peres had just bombed a refugee camp and killed 100 people. Netanyahu would go on to be Benjamin Netanyahu. So, that is what elections look like. Biden is currently president now, and cops around the nation are showing up, in militarized gear, breaking up student protests violently, breaking up student protests. Who do you think that reflects on? That reflects on Biden, right? Of course, he does not have control over the local municipality, but this is going to fall back on him unless he is the one pushing back on it, unless he's the one openly pushing back against genocide. I mean, you're going to disenfranchise an entire generation of voters that would have saved you otherwise. And it is terrifying to me that Trump could win. Trump is ready to be worse. I mean, people cannot imagine how Trump could be worse because no one can imagine it being worse than it is right now. But hey, you know what? MAGA is going to defy expectations. They're ready to come in and defy expectations. Meanwhile, you have a Democratic Party that has banned TikTok, that has sent money to Israel, and that is a bunch of them have been totally fine with sending in riot gear police to protest. Like, I have to go out and campaign, not elect Trump, and they have not made it. The Democrats have not made it easy. And listen, and the tragic thing is, there's so many recent developments with Biden. If you took out away the genocide part, that have been phenomenal. I mean, he brought back net neutrality. He's done stuff that's protected consumers with regards to airlines and a bunch of other things. He's gotten rid of the non-compete clauses that employers use. Amazing things that help consumers, that help your average worker, that help us, not be controlled by broadband monopolies. Things that, if you had genocide notwithstanding, would have put him further up. And now if he loses at this point, it's his fault. It's not my fault. It's not everyone else's fault. He's going to lose for Netanyahu. Who does Netanyahu want to elect? Netanyahu wants to elect Trump. So, I mean, people say, oh, by genocide, Joe, all that. Netanyahu wants Trump to win. Openly articulated this. I think I will vote for the person that Netanyahu doesn't want to win.